In this video, we'll look at practical lighting in a scene in 3ds Max. Practical lights in a stage set are the actual light fixtures. It's important that they look like they're on. Even though your light may be coming from theatrical lighting or 3-point or something similar, having the practical lights show up correctly is a big deal. It reinforces the reality of the scene you're presenting. For us, because of the way we're working, we can use our practical lighting as fill lights in our scene. And then if we need to add a rim or a key light on a character to pop them out from the background, we can. This is why I said that 3-point lighting is a departure point. We can use it as a frame of reference and then add to it. We'll end up with, well, 27-point lighting in this case. What I'll do for my practical lights is first get the fixture in. It's important that the light is coming from a fixture, or from the place a fixture would be. And I want to think about the relationship of the light and the fixture to what's around it. I've added in these can lights on the ceiling. Now these are about 12 feet off the floor, so any light that comes down from them is going to be pretty diffused and spread out, but should give us wall washes and washes on the columns. I'll start out by getting a light in one and cloning it around as an instance. Under Lights, on my Create tab in the Lights button, the default is photometric. I'll use a free light here, and yes, I'd like to add the photographic exposure control. As I said in previous videos, I always put this on. It's the first thing I do, so that it happens to be doing it for me when I'm creating a light is a bonus. I'll get my free light on and in the center of the fixture. I can name this light, maybe I'll call it Can Light, and more importantly, I want to make sure that with this light I change the distribution. Although technically the bulb would probably be not quite a sphere, but more of a squished hemisphere or something similar, we want to use a spotlight for lights like these, so we get the wall wash right without stressing the renderer casting shadows off the fixture. I'll pick Spotlight, and what we've got to adjust here are the hotspot and fall off. I'll scroll down and I'll look at hotspot and fall off on this under distribution. For a can light, I'm going to try the hotspot at 30 and the fall off at 75. So it's a nice big wide fall off in here with a lot of zone of fade across that. Very soft. I'll leave it as a D65 illuminant. That's fine. We have other choices in our photometric lights, but we need to get the materials on first. What I care about in this first round is the light is in the right place. How it looks and what color it is, I'll deal with when my scene is accurate in the materials. I'll go into a front view and move that light up into the fixture and then clone it around. As a note when putting in practical lights, pull them below the geometry. We don't want to have to cast shadows off this geometry and soak up rendering time and risk odd ringed shadows all over the place. So put it slightly below. Nobody will notice that you're a few inches under where the light bulb is, and it'll speed up your rendering. I'll clone this light around and do a test render and see how it looks. I've cloned those lights around to the fixtures, and they're very bright, but the light is in the right place. Darker areas between the banks of lights. Now I can adjust them, and I instance the lights as I clone them, so that if I adjust one, they all change. Here's how I'll adjust this. I'll scroll down and look at the candle power. I'll bring this down to 1000 and try another rendering. I also want to look at that photographic exposure. There's a distinct chance that the values it came on with are very, very bright, and it is. An exposure value of 2 is wide open. I'm really going to let too much light in my scene. I'm going to switch to the photographic exposure and open up my aperture. Here it is at a 2.4. I'm going to speed up my film. I like to shoot at 200 for bright indoors sometimes. And then for the shutter, this is a very, very slow number actually. I'll increase this. I'll try a 24th of a second and speed that up and see how it looks. I'll test render again and see if I'm on the right track. Much better. With proper exposures, I really start to get my scene going. I've got big pools of light and darkness, bounce light still on the ceiling, and light on the ecos. I've also got light washing on the columns and the walls. whether the values are right or not, the placement is very crucial. It's believable that these lights are on because the light coming from them is in the right place. And that's really the key to the practical lighting. Now I'll bring back up their intensity and see what else I need to adjust. It's working nicely. The one thing I can tell is it's going to change when I get the right colors and materials on. This is just object color, and so it's not bouncing the light correctly in the scene. But the lights are in the right place, and so they're working well. Just as a check, I'll right-click and turn on Ray Trace Shadows. I'll test render again and see what I get. It's working nicely. The halfway animated Eco standing over here, with his feet flying up, is shadowing correctly. This is what I mean when I say 3-point lighting is a departure point. They're pretty nicely lit already, maybe just needing a rim light, and my lighting on them is done. I don't have to worry about distinct lighting separating them from the scene, because I'm lit from the practicals, and so they sit in there fairly naturally.